Let's talk about one of the most common experiences in life that almost no one talks about. A lot of people, maybe yourself, wake up in fear a lot of the time. They wake up, they're gripped with fear, their mind is pitching them all these terrible ideas in these terrible scenarios. Or it's even a mindless kind of just gripping kind of thing that seizes your heart. So if you have this, let's talk about the best way to deal with it so that you can use that energy for spiritual breakthroughs and to actually have a better life, a more extraordinary life than just managing it or just avoiding it until the next time. So to start, let's talk about what that is. Why is that such a common experience? And I'd say that experience kind of on acid is when you wake up in the middle of the night, right? And as a lot of people have this, they wake up in the middle of the night, and that can be even more intense. But it's the same idea. You're sort of first thing in the morning, you come face to face with this, all the subconscious fears and all of that. So the way that I've come to look at that, I use a term, and it's not like an official term or anything. It is a word. I think it's a Buddhist word, but it's dross, and it's like stuff. And so the way that I look at that stuff that happens in the morning is a bit like a homework assignment or a bit like the weights on the bar. This is the stuff that I need to walk through to sort of be healthy. And so when you have that attitude toward it, it kind of changes. Now you're not just surviving it. You're not just trying to get through it and trying to live in spite of this terrible fear. Now there's a way to actually use all of that stuff for your spiritual growth, to actually get stronger. And it becomes a little bit like spiritual weightlifting, where you wake up in the morning and you sort of process your dross, your crap, your whatever. And it's sort of the universe is letting you know what is on your plate to be worked with. And this is so powerful and so helpful to have this perspective and this idea. And so, like for instance, I woke up this morning, I had a bad dream. I had this dream that my wife was in the hospital and that I was there and I didn't have all of our account numbers and everything in order. And in the dream, I'm coming up with a plan because I'm half asleep, half awake going, I got to get all this stuff in order. I got to get a backpack together in case anything goes wrong. And in that backpack, I have to have all these folders that have all the right account numbers and the right medical clearances, everything, right? And so I wake up with this in my head and grip with this fear of, I got to get this together. This is what's going to protect me. This being ready is what's going to protect me from this terrible eventuality, which leads into like fear of old age and all of that. And so that was the junk that was there. And so on its face, it's credible. You look at it and go, yeah, well, that makes sense. You got to be prepared for these events. So I paused because I'm very aware of all of this stuff. And because I just come out of this dream, it was more compelling than usual. But I went, wait a minute, is this voice really the thing that I want to listen to? So I got quiet and I listened, and there was this space in my chest, in and around the heart chakra. And there was this just quiet, simple note of peace. And it was like, okay. This, even though it's a small kernel, because sometimes, as you all know, the voices are really loud and it's hard to find that peace inside yourself, that God, that essence, that connection to the deep mystery, etc. And so you just look for a toehold wherever you can. And as we go later in the video, I'll talk about the different ways we can use our body and the energies in our body to help give us a foothold to the divine, if you will. So I just followed that one kernel and listened to that, and it already started to sound a lot more sane. And the thing about it is this intelligence that we're tapping into, this incredibly deep intelligence that lives inside of us, so much more intelligent than the mind can't follow there. It's a quiet, wordless intelligence. And so it takes some practice to learn how to listen to that. So I listened to that and I followed, and my sort of heart chakra opened up. And I've been seeing a lot more in the last 5 years. most of my chakras have really opened up, not with me working on them, but just the work that I'm doing somehow is sort of clearing them. And these energy centers are kind of good places to go when your mind is really going nuts. So I started here in my chest, but then it opened up to my solar plexus. And each one of these has a different aspect of peace and solidity, but it's all this quiet intelligence. And it really starts to quiet the mind. And so then once I had that foothold, then I was able to go all the way down into my tailbone and listen to the incredible peace and infinity in my tailbone. And then all the way up here into the energy at the top of my head, this crown chakra. And the energy that's opened up for me most recently is up here. And I've always been very down on head and head energy and stuff. And everybody always talks about this is a vastly, deeply spiritual center here above the third eye, right above your eyes, right between your nose, right above your nose. And I've never like felt anything there. And just in this last week, this energy center opened up. So I'm exploring that. And I don't know what it means just yet. But by within 15, 20 minutes, all of a sudden now, I'm very connected to this truth, which is a wordless truth, which is letting me know that these are not necessarily the actions to take, that this course of following and listening to panic is not the way. And then when I'm connected to that sort of peaceful part, now I'm able to sort of do a little homework and process some of this dross and go into that fear. And for those of you who know my work and what I do, we call it sitting with or being with your feelings. And so when the ego is in that kind of acute pain, the ego is in charge, and the ego is like this. The ego is, I'm scared that I'm going to be destroyed, and this is what I need to do in order to feel safe. And this is no way to live, and this is how most humans live, right? And so getting out of this is sort of a top priority. And so coming into the body, anchoring yourself into the body, and I especially like to go down into my stomach, wherever you can go and latch onto. It might be easier to start in your heart. If you go down into your heart, you'll hear that there's a different frequency and a different vibration than your head. And if you can go down into your stomach, and my favorite is the tailbone, some of these places won't be accessible to you, but some of them will. And so you can look and find a place to go in your body where it's kind of quiet. And when I had my sort of breakthrough 5.5 years ago, that's what happened for me. The pain was so great, it forced me down in to listen to something else other than the pain. And, this is the value of pain. Pain kind of does this. Pain kind of rolls you like a rolling pin, and it forces you down. It forces you down and into your heart, right? So to use all of this and to understand that it is for you and not against you is a new way of starting to greet life in the morning and approach life. So finding a place to get centered. So finding a place to get centered, an anchor, which then you can sort of start to sit with this fear, is a really good practice to begin your mornings with. And if you don't have a morning regimen, look in my videos. I have lots of recommendations about how to build a morning regimen and why it's so essential that you have one. It really is kind of the cornerstone to real progress in life. It's the most important thing that I recommend. And getting to these places and touching these places is the most important thing you can do in a day. And it's so important to do it when you start your day. Because if you pick up crazy first thing in the morning, if you pick up your telephone and you follow that vibration, that resonates throughout your entire day. So how to sit with this feeling. The most important thing I've seen, there are two things that I think are the most important. One is we fight these feelings all the time. And so the first thing is to not fight, to allow the feeling to just be there. Don't even worry in the beginning about feeling it. If you've gotten very good at it, you can start to really feel it and feel it as deeply as you can. But in the beginning, you don't have to necessarily even feel it. Just allow the feeling to be there and just be next to it. And then the second most important thing is, as you go through this, just to give it as much compassion as you can. Eckhart Tolle, he recommends silent witnessing, which is great, but it's slower. This energy of compassion helps these wounded parts of us to feel more loved and more safe, to open up and let go of what it is they're holding on to. So these are just a couple of recommendations of things to do in the morning. The first most important thing is start to change your attitude about what this is. This is actually where your healing and your growth is in this first early morning period, and learning to work with these energies will create a foundation of healing that will carry your life to the next level and allow you to sort of anchor in and center deep in your truth. And then you can kind of start to live from that space. So if any of this makes sense to you, if you want to sit down and talk about it more deeply with me one-on-one, we can start to identify what your biggest blocks are. Down below, I have a free one-on-one consultation. So just click that link and we can sit together for a half hour, and it'll probably only take me 5 or 6 minutes to really see what it is. And, there's a lot of compassion there. Compassion is the main thing. And then too, if you want to start slower, if you want to put your toe in and start to learn more what this is all about, I have a free community called Unblock Your Brilliance. It's all about getting rid of the blocks that are stopping you from being the incredible, true spirit that you are. There's a link down below for that as well. So go check that out. And I look forward to seeing you next time. And please, while you're down there, like and subscribe so that you are alerted when more videos come. And I would deeply appreciate it because it helps me reach more people. Okay, have a great one, and I'll see you soon.